Lloydminster's growth continues. The affordable housing market hasn't been able to keep pace, and with the city's population expected to reach 40,000 in the next 8 years, according to Habitat for Humanity on the border. Now the group is launching an ambitious plan to help families in need.
Local Rotarians heard firsthand about Lloydminster's housing crisis from Habitat on the Border's executive director.
The people that we serve are in a low-income cutoff level, family of 7. They make annually just over $58,000. The average salary in Lloydminster is $107,000. We intend by the end of 2016 to have built double the number of homes that we've built to date.
That plan comes through a new program called Corporate Hearts and Volunteer Hands, with this the next build site.
We are working to get it demolished. We've had a couple of construction companies from Edmonton that have stepped forward to demolish the property for us at no cost.
Remediation work will also be needed on the property, which will be an expensive part of the demolition, something the group is looking for help with. Though the plan is not concrete, they hope to help 7 families with this one build.
The need is just so great, like 1.3 million Canadian families in housing need, 1 in 7 Canadian children living in poverty conditions. Like, we just can't not work towards that.
They are looking to get underway by the summer.
The Lloydminster Public Library and Arts Without Borders invited a special guest to the border city today. Author John Christensen stopped at the public library to share his life stories.
It's a story that goes right from childhood memories, and it took place about 100 miles east of Lloydminster.
John was diagnosed with a crippling illness at the age of 14, survived a plane crash, and spent 5 years in jail. All of these stories are told in his biography called The 13th Rope.
The title came from the morning we were spotting cattle. We had caught 12 head of cattle, and each time a rope was used from the riders, and the rope that saved my life from burning in the airplane was the 13th rope.
John's biography can be found online or at Chapters bookstores. It was a somber show of support for several women missing or murdered from the Onion Lake First Nation. Friends and families gathered at City Hall Saturday morning before making the 50-kilometer trek on foot back home, raising awareness and hoping for closure. Venessa has more.
Dozens gathered at City Hall, carrying signs with pictures of loved ones. They came to remember those gone before their time and to raise awareness of the trouble plaguing Aboriginal women. 7 women from the Onion Lake First Nation have either gone missing or have been killed in the last few years.
My auntie was one of the ladies that got murdered. Her birthday was actually yesterday, and I thought, well, I wanted to take part in this.
Her aunt, Jeanette Chief, was killed 5 years ago. Her homicide has not been solved, and that's something the family is struggling with. There is no closure.
We haven't forgotten, and we're still looking for answers. Most of these cases are unsolved right now.
It's that frustration, that hurt, when a person goes through a grieving process without knowing what exactly happened to their family member.
Those in attendance today just hope that their anguish will prompt some new leads.
We're still looking for answers, and if somebody knows anything, to come forward and talk to our CMP.
Venessa, New Cap News.
The city of Lloydminster was abuzz with excitement this week back in 2003 as centennial celebrations got underway. There were unveilings, ribbon cuttings, and a visit from a very special guest. Brian Hardy has this week's Retrospect this week from the archives.
In late spring 2003, Lloydminster gets ready to throw the party of a century as the town turns 100. The first in a number of celebrations was the unveiling of the Hope statue.
The dream that started 5 years ago with Lloydminster retired RCMP member Glenn Wood became a reality this afternoon. The first reenactment of the trek took place 10 years ago, with only 3 wagons and drivers. This time, 11 wagons and 47 volunteers are enthusiastically experiencing the journey. A much-anticipated visitor arrived in the border city shortly after 11 this morning to help Lloydminster residents celebrate a very significant milestone.
Congratulations on achieving your centenary.
The visit has left a sense of pride among organizers, as they say Lloydminster residents were gracious hosts to the event.
I firmly believe that we need that type of leadership so that we can preserve the documents which will become our history on an ongoing basis.
With the help of her granddaughter Denise, the first baby born in Lloydminster gave some recollections of her past. She has a special message for all residents.
Happy birthday to Lloydminster.
Linda Wilcox, NewsHour.
A number of distinguished guests were on hand to help kick off centennial celebrations over the weekend.
This is one of the biggest birthday parties, centennial parties, that I think any community in Canada has ever had.
Join us next time when it's out with the old and in with the new Lloydminster Hospital. I'm Brian Hardy for Retrospect, this week from the archives.
Retrospect this week from the archives is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
The 58th annual Lee Park Rodeo wrapped up yesterday. The 3-day event was packed full of rain, wind, and a lot of fanfare. Mike Baden has the story.
Cowboys and cowgirls come from all across North America to compete, and the planning for the event takes over a year to organize.
It's just planning, you know, and then the week before the rodeo, you know, the manual labor comes in, getting stuff set up, stuff organized, you know, stuff like that.
Even though the weekend was filled with bad weather and rain, fans of all ages made the trip to Lee Park.
I think it's a heck of a community event. It brings out a lot of people, and a lot of people have a good time. It's been here for years, and it's great support for sure.
Just the atmosphere of this rodeo it's one in a kind, we got one of a kind.
We have a wrong cab tonight, Jake. Brad's got to hurry.
Lloyd Gray has been involved for over 30 years and says the event keeps on growing.
It's growing tremendous. 31 years ago, all was down here was a bunch of junk, old wooden corrals and page wire fence, and none of this buildings we have now. Everything was deteriorating, falling down, and we just went by year and built it up.
Definitely the crowds are starting to pick up a little bit. When I first started coming, they were a little smaller than this, but it seems like the word's getting out and a lot of people are coming. They find it's a good show, and why not come out and enjoy it.
And one of the more confusing events is a fan favorite.
I enjoy the bull riding. I don't know why guys would want to get on one of those things, but hats off to them.
Mike Baden, Newcap News.
A young boy was orphaned in a horrific highway crash that claimed 7 lives. He received a boost from some local musicians in Wainwright. Timothy Wheaton lost his family in a crash this past April on Highway 63. Music teacher Judy Marchuk and her students are showing their support by collecting donations.
It's been really encouraging to see the people and the response, and like most people, you know, they can tear up when they think about Timmy, and so yeah, the response has been wonderful.
Donations are being accepted at the Wainwright Pentecostal Assembly and will go to a trust fund for Timmy at the Bank of Montreal. Sunday was all about raising awareness for Crohn's and colitis at the 5th annual Gutsy Walk. As Elise Cox explains, participants braved the weather to show support for those who have been diagnosed.
Hard work has finally paid off as these Gutsy walkers hand in their pledges and gear up to take a stand for Crohn's and colitis.
We've been able to bring awareness to the illness and get a lot of people out participating, and people are more comfortable to come out and join us, and it's been great so far.
The whole family was invited to come out and walk, even sport their most creative outfits.
We came up with the idea because I was on Go Lightly, and we figured, well, this is a funny name, so that's how we came up with the idea.
The walk holds special meaning to Emily and her entire support system.
I was diagnosed last summer, and it will be 1 year in remission this summer, so that's what we're doing this for.
The foundation is working hard to raise awareness within the community for families just like Emily's.
For the first year we had a very, very small turnout, but it's grown ever since then, and this has been the best turnout we've had.
These diseases are close to family, and I know a lot of my friends that have these diseases as well, so it's important to get out here and support the foundation. And it's great to see so many people from the community out here as well.
And it's with the support of the community behind her that Emily can proudly participate. Elise Cox, Newcap News.